My name is Barbara With, and I live in Lake Superior on Madeline Island. Well, I came to the shell about maybe 2 months ago. I had seen that these water protector camps were opening up around northern Minnesota and had been making an effort to go to all of them, but when I got to Shell, I really felt like I had come to the camp that was for me. This camp is located on public state forest land. So it's a public campground, but Winona and Honor the Earth have graciously brought down canoes, kayaks, trailers, and they're working the 1855 treaty rights to be able to be here, and invited us as guests to come and join them in their pursuit of water justice. And there's thousands of years of gathering here at this spot. There's mounds around in the hills. It's a very sacred, peaceful, spiritual place, and you can feel that when you're here. And we are here because Enbridge is putting through line 3, and they're going under, at least they're going under the shell 5 times, and many more rivers, many more times. They've already started drilling under the rivers and are having frack outs, and it's a real big mess. So they're doing horizontal directional drilling, which means if here's the river, they have a drill pad up here and they drill down, and they're supposed to be drilling under the river, but sometimes they hit the aquifer and then all of their chemicals get leaked up into the river. And I just heard this morning there's a 48-hour work stoppage because of these things until tomorrow. So
For all of their sites everywhere, or
I don't
just
know.
for where they're drilling?
I just got a message from Cheryl, 48-hour work stoppage till tomorrow at 4 p.m. I grew up in Minneapolis, where within the city limits we had 40 lakes, and Minnesota is the land of 10,000 lakes. So water, being around water, I grew up with, it's in my blood. And then when I moved to Madeline Island and became a resident of Lake Superior, it was evident that this water planet is the heart and the soul of keeping us all alive. So back in 2011, when Scott Walker was trying to pass these horrible mining bills through the Wisconsin legislature, I became a water protector, and I got to know my neighbors at Bed River and Red Cliff reservations, and helped to create unity across the state of both cultures to be able to stand together. And we stopped the mine, the 22-mile open pit iron ore mine they wanted to install on the shores of Lake Superior. And I think once you become a water protector, you never stop being a water protector. It's always there. So then I went out to Standing Rock, and that was a profound experience. And then Enbridge Line 5 is coming through northern Wisconsin through the Bad River Reservation, although they have them in court, and now they're trying to reroute it south through Mellon. So that's going to be an imminent threat over there. But when I saw these indigenous women opening up these camps and inviting people to come and stand and be water protectors, I just knew I had to come do my duty.
Yeah.
What I understand about the 1855 treaty territory is that the Anishinaabe have reserved their rights to hunt, fish, and gather and be here on this public land. They did it in 1855, although the U.S. government hasn't always honored the treaties, and in fact are not honoring them now. So being a guest here is the equivalent of being family. So it extends to us the kind of coverage that they have from that treaty. So we've been invited as guests, all of us non-natives, and I feel like I've found a family, actually. Last week on the Shell River, 6 of us had decided that we were going to exercise our First Amendment rights by chaining ourselves together and going down to the easement. I should say we went down to the easement and then we chained ourselves together, and then we walked up the easement and had some people helping us with beach chairs. And so we slowly moved our way up the easement until we were just face to face with the officers. And they allowed us to be there for several hours where we educated them on everything they never knew about Line 3, and questioned them about why are they wearing American flags? They should be wearing Canadian flags, because Enbridge is paying for the law enforcement up here in the Northern Lights Task Force. So it was a powerful experience in so many levels, but perhaps for me the most profound level was being able to speak directly to the captive audience of 5 police officers. And if you know Winella LaDuke, you know how she loves to talk, and she's so good at it. And it started to, we've been sitting there for several hours, and we were telling the story of how we did a prayer for rain, but we were very specific. Not rain in Louisiana, not rain out east, but rain right here. And within an hour it was pouring rain, and they arrested us and took us to jail we stayed in for 2.5 days, and they kept Winona for another day.
It's interesting you describe the police as a captive audience. I'm just thinking about that, about how you were literally in chains, like, and if one were to look at that visually, one would think you were captives because you were in chains, and yet they were a captive audience. Can you just talk a little bit about that dynamic, about how they were actually held there captive? Like, what brought them there, and what was your power in the situation?
The captive audience of the police was kind of an enigma to me, because here we were sitting there in that space, and they didn't take any action to do anything, and so they just stood there and stood there and stood there and stood there and never made a move towards us. And so, yeah, I'm not sure why we had such a captive audience. We were sitting there, and no one of those policemen were making any move to remove us. No one told us to leave. In fact, they said, "That's good where you are." So, and then they just proceeded to stand there. And, they had their shades on, and they were all sorts of, officials staring into space. But I think it would be really difficult for them to have ignored the words that were said to them by the aunties and the grandmas, who were continually speaking to them about everything, about the hydrology, about the culture, about the animals, about the politics. And there came a point where, after they decided that they didn't want to stand in the pouring rain and were going to arrest us, they put the ties on us. And as soon as their sunglasses came off, they became really attentive, kind people to us. We were treated phenomenally in my mind of how kind they were to us. And so it was, I'm still sort of processing that whole dichotomy of being the ones in chains, but they were the captive audience. There's a group called the 1855 Treaty Authority, and they have so much information about what that means, what the treaty rights are, what they cover, reserved rights. Stopline3.org is everything you want to know about learning about Line 3. And over in Wisconsin, Line 3 will come and go into Superior, but from Superior we have Line 5, which is then going through northern Wisconsin to the Straits of Mackinac, and then line 61, which is, I believe, is also tar sands, goes down diagonally all the way across Wisconsin. Just the dirtiest, most liable energy that we have left. And line 3 is indeed the last tar sands oil pipeline. And I hope that people can feel that need to stand up in this climate crisis that we have, to know that they can come to the Shell, they can come to Welcome Water Protector, they can come and take a stand with us to protect the planet for our kids and grandkids. I just want to say that once you get arrested for doing something that's necessary and right, because what they are doing is illegal and immoral, something inside changes. And somebody said to me the night before we did the action, she was saying how she was afraid too when she went to get arrested, but after she got out, she was empowered and just wanted to go back in there. And that's exactly what happened. Is the fear is gone and the empowerment is there, and I just want to get back out there and protect the water.
Where do you think that power comes? Where does that power come from?
When the when we're facing the unknown, and there's always this fear of the unknown, there's anything your imagination can conjure up about what's going to happen in jail or what's this. But when you go through it and you see it and you realize that, it's a learning experience for me about what the system is. I've never been in jail, and so it was so eye-opening. And then we were treated so well, but so many people are not. There's a sense of accomplishment and survival, and it just empowers kind of an innate empirical knowledge that you now have gained from having the experience. And I'm very honored to have been arrested. It will forever be one of the most profound events of my life.